Hey guys, my name is James Walsh, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. I want to thank you for finding us. Please do me a favor and click that subscribe button and the notifications bell. And if you get the chance on this video, click the like button. If you do, it'll turn blue. Check it out. Also, check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for all this great content available in MP3 format, our online store that'll keep us going free and clear, daily news updates, as well as all the information from the history of professional wrestling you could possibly ever want. Check out WrestlingEpicenter.com online right now. Without any delay, let's get to your interview here on the Wrestling Epicenter. Hey guys, this is James Walsh, joining you in 2021 as we go back through our archives and clean them up a little bit as best I can and upload them here on YouTube. Today we have the Christian Cage 2007 media conference call, as well as Casero, Sean Davari, joining us. As I do this, I wanted to do this little preamble to let you know that if you go to our website, WrestlingEpicenter.com, we also have banter, talk, where we discuss all the things that were going on in wrestling at the time, and we were pretty funny back then. I had quite a few guys that were offering their take on things. So if you're looking for just talk from back then, and I don't mean talk now as we look back at it with hindsight being 2020, if you want to hear what people were saying week to week, every week, back then, pretty much from 2003 till 2017, when I was doing those kind of segments, check it out. Check out WrestlingEpicenter.com. They're available in MP3 format. I won't put that stuff on YouTube just because I'm interviewing some of the guys that we were talking about then, and it wasn't always complimentary. Did I just bury myself? Maybe a little. Anyway, let's get to those classic interviews here on the Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey, this is Jerry Lynn, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
And your first question comes from Ryan Ryder with Main Event.
Hey, Christian Cage, it's great to talk to you today. First of all, it's been 2 years since you began in TNA. I remember your genuine excitement during your debut. It's been 2 years now. Do you still feel the same way as you did when you first came?
Oh, for sure. You know, the fun thing about, coming to TNA was and one of the things that excited me coming here was the fact that it was a growing company. And, it seems to be growing, every day, every month, every year since I've been here. So it's exciting to be a part of something that's growing. And, since I've come on board, obviously, going from getting Spike TV deal on a late Saturday night time slot, moving to Thursdays, it was still late time slot, moving down to the 9 o'clock, and now, of course, having 2 hours at 9 o'clock Eastern on Spike TV. So it's, it's still exciting because of all the things that are happening and the way that it's growing and the forward momentum the company has. So it's of course, still exciting.
Yeah, you've had quite a few memorable matches over the last 2 years. Maybe you could tell me who your favorite opponents were, maybe a favorite match or two.
Yeah, I think actually a couple of my favorite matches are on the DVD. Obviously, winning my first world title was a huge, a huge notch in my belt.
Jeff Jarrett, especially.
Yeah. So, and then of course, my long friendship and rivalry I had with Rhino. So the 6-sided steel cage match I had with him, it was on the 2-hour special of Impact last November. That was one of my favorite matches, and the recent matches that I've had with Samoa Joe that I really, really enjoyed, especially the last match we just had at Bound for Glory. So, those were off the top of my head some of my favorites.
Also, I've heard that you're a big fan of the video games. Have you had a chance to try out an advanced copy of the TNA video game that's supposed to be due out next year?
No, I have not, but I've seen the screenshots, and actually when we were at Bound for Glory, Midway came and did a presentation at the Fan Fest earlier, and they actually showed they had like a demo set up watching the actual game in play. So it looks unbelievable, and it's going to be state of the art. It's going to be the best wrestling game out for sure when it hits the market.
All right, thanks a lot, Christian.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from Mike Johnson with PWInsider.com.
Christian, how are you doing today?
Hey, Mike, what's going on?
Same old stuff. In terms of the DVD, they used a lot of the early footage of you and Adam Copeland. How did you feel about putting some of the older footage out there? Because I noticed with a lot of the guys, especially the more talented workers, everybody hates their own footage from when they're breaking in because all they see is stuff that they did wrong.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about putting it out there and
Actually, that's part. I didn't mean to cut you off there. Sorry, but that's part of the reason why I wanted it on the DVD was that you can see the progression of what it actually takes to become to what you have to do to evolve and to become, sort of a force in the business and to compete at the top level, and how much work it actually takes, and that you can't just step in the ring and be, at the top right away. It's an actual progression, and you have to learn every single time that you step in the ring. And I mean, actually, I think on the DVD also one of the bonus features has my very first interview and it was brutal. It's a brutal interview, and when I watch it, I cringe. But it's something that's on there that you can see, as far as where they were when I first broke in, that you can really see, like I said, what it takes from where you're starting to the things that you have to do to improve to where you ultimately want to end up in the business. So. I mean, I was all for having it on there.
Right. How involved were you in the actual production and decisions of what matches were going to go on the DVD? Was it, here's what we're going to put on it, let us know what you think, or was it you actually sat down with TNA and said, I'd like this match because this was a good representation of what I've done in the company?
They sent me a list of matches they wanted to have on the DVD and asked if I was okay with it, and then I sent them back saying, well, maybe not this one, maybe this one, but for the most part, they had it, nailed what matches I would have put on there. But there was a couple that we kind of just slid in, and one or two that we split out. So it was a mutual thing. Like I said, they sent me a list, asked me if I had anything to add or take away, and we did, and worked together, and we came out with a great set of matches for the DVD.
Cool. I don't want to monopolize anybody's time, so I'll jump back in the queue.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from Wade Needham with WorldWrestling.net.
Hey, Christian, first off, just want to say I watched your DVD last night. It's just an amazing DVD, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, major props on your theater room, too. That thing makes me very jealous.
It's funny. I mean, it's, one of those things when I first broke into the wrestling business, broke for the first, 4 or 5 years. I was wrestling, not making any money. And, the time I was wondering if I'd ever own my own car, let alone, be able to get to the point where I could actually build my own house and actually have a room like that. So I'm really proud of everything that I have, and obviously the way that I was brought up in business, and I really feel like I work for everything that I have. So it's I'm really proud of the things that I have. So.
Well, you truly are probably one of the most talented guys in the industry, and you definitely deserve all your fame and fortune that you've earned so far.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
First question I got for you, though, is are you still into sadomasochistic activity?
Sometimes. It depends. Okay. Depends on the mood.
We have
a lot of people still bring that up, that little skit. So it's I'm glad people enjoyed it because it was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah. Well, when TNA did the Basic Instinct parody, why didn't you reprise your role?
I don't know. I guess I don't know. I guess I probably could have, but I didn't really think about it at the time.
That would have been kind of interesting. We had some questions sent in on our website from different visitors. Aaron Riff wants to know, what did you think of Junior Fatu's promo on Impact the other week when he basically buried the Fight for Your Right tournament, and he also called Robert Roode Rick Rude?
To be honest with you, I haven't seen it. So I've been home, actually. I can't comment on it because I haven't seen it, and I haven't been home in the last couple of weeks, so I have it all TiVo'd, so I'll watch it when I get home, but I haven't seen haven't seen that show yet.
Okay. Kyle Johnson wants to know, how do you feel about Kanye West?
How do I feel about Kanye West?
Yes.
I ain't saying he's a gold digger. I don't know. I mean, I guess he's Kanye West, talented artist. I mean, actually, I like some Kanye West. I have a few Kanye West songs on my iPod. Other than that, I don't know him, so he's a talented artist. I don't know what to say about him.
Okay. Clarence Cobb Jr. wants to know, how do you feel about NWA leaving TNA?
It's kind of, it's one of those things where I think that obviously the NWA title is, the oldest title in the industry. So with the names that have held the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, guys like Harley Race, Ric Flair, Dory Terry Funk, the list goes on and on and on, you have those names attached to that title, and there's a long history there, but at the same time, TNA has to, at some point, I think we're at the stage where we can carry, our own world title and don't really necessarily have to have the NWA name to sort of justify our world championship, So it's with the different stage now with the national television audience and the bigger audience pay-per-views and such, I think it was the right time to move on and establish our own world title.
Alrighty. Last question here. What store can I buy a Christian Cage at Bird?
Christian Cage what now? Sorry?
Well, what store can I buy a Christian Cage Bird?
You're cutting out on me. I didn't hear it at all. I didn't hear what you said.
That's a bad joke. I'm sorry about that anyway. But thank you for your time, Christian.
All right, thank you.
Your next question comes from James Walsh with WrestlingEPICenter.com.
It's actually WrestlingEpicenter.com. Christian, it's great to have you back on the show. We had you back on in December of 2005, so it's great to talk to you again.
You too.
All right, let me ask you some questions here. I've got a couple questions, much like the last caller, coming from the website. And this reader asked a question about AJ Styles, who's been paired with you of late. AJ's biggest criticism was he's great in the ring, but he never was great on the microphone, and these days he's become one of the funniest parts of the show. How much did you work with him on his speaking abilities?
Actually, I think that, when I was first starting to talk, I think that sometimes when you're out there and you're a singles wrestler and that sort of thing, and you're not used to talking, you don't have a lot of experience talking, it's going to be a hard thing. When I first started getting a chance to speak on the microphone and do things backstage, was with Edge, and we had things we could bounce stuff off each other and kind of felt comfortable doing it with each other, and kind of helped each other develop a personality. And I think in that sense, it might be the same thing, that maybe he feels comfortable when he's with me, and we just kind of goof around sometimes backstage, and those things kind of come out on TV. And when that happens, you start to feel more comfortable and more confident doing things. And maybe it's a side of himself that he didn't know he had, but I think he's kind of taken the ball and run with it. And like you said, in the ring, he's second to none. He's an unbelievably talented performer in the ring, and he can talk, and he does have great personality, and it's going to even evolve from here, and move up. And I think that the sky's the limit for him, especially now that he's kind of tapped into the side of his persona. I think he's going to be a huge star.
You think somewhere down the line we could see some instant classic matches between you and AJ?
You never know. You never know what might happen. I'm sure it will at some point.
Mm-hmm. Now, working with TNA, you have the opportunity to do some more things because you're obviously not on the road every day of the week, with the opportunity to do some things like the films. So did you want to mention any of the films that you're promoting right now?
Yeah, actually, the movie that I'm actually up in Toronto right now, we had a little, actually it was pretty big. We had sort of a viewing of the movie that I did, the independent movie by Blackwalk Films called Dark Rising. Mm-hmm. And it's an independent film that I did, and a small little kind of funny, kind of campy horror movie. It was just kind of movie. It is what it is, you know what I mean? It was fun and funny, and doesn't try to pretend to be anything that it's not. And it was just a great experience. And so I'm having a lot of fun doing that other stuff and kind of challenging myself to do some other things. And the acting was a lot of fun. So I definitely look forward to getting a chance to do more stuff like that.
Excellent. And my final question for you is actually a bit of an insider question, and that is, there's always talk on the internet, by everybody who's never been in a wrestling ring before, about if it's better to call a match behind the scenes or in the ring. So do you have any thoughts and anything to add to that?
I think that sometimes with live TV, and sometimes when you have a short TV match or something, it's really hard to do things like that because you're working within a certain time frame. But I'm of the opinion that you go out and you feel the crowd and you work with it and you see what happens and let everything fall into place. That's the way that I like to do things. So, it just, I think, depends on what the performer feels comfortable doing. And, but like I said, I mean, especially when you're traveling around and you're doing different things, not every crowd is the same. So, not every crowd's going to react to the same thing in every city. So it's good to be able to change things up on the fly and do different things.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time. Great DVD, and we're looking forward to seeing what's next for you here in TNA.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care.
Your next question comes from Jim Barcelone with Miami Herald.
Yeah, Christian, I wanted to know, it's been about 2 years for you. What at this point makes you content with what you're able to do and what TNA allows you to do?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
What makes you happy with TNA, match-wise, and where you're able to go with your matches and your character? What just makes you happy being a part of TNA and being able what you're able to do?
Yeah, no, the thing is that they allow me to be real hands-on with everything, like as far as promos go and backstage vignettes and that sort of thing. With creative direction stuff, it's really open and really everyone's open for discussion and for certain things, and it makes it easier definitely when you don't have to be scared to speak up or whatever, and respect have been really great to me as far as letting me kind of my creative input and let my kind of creative juices flow, I guess.
Also, the other thing I wanted to ask you was, what are your thoughts? I know it's early, but what are your thoughts so far of how TNA talent and TNA creative is handling the new 2-hour format of TV?
Yeah, it's a big step for everybody, and it's going to be an adjustment for everyone for a little while. So I think that once we get past the initial adjustment stage and kind of I think you'll see a smoother show. Definitely, I think the shows have been good, and I think that they'll continue to get better as we keep moving along here. And I think that like I said, once everybody kind of gets used to the new format and being able to put on longer matches and having more time to kind of people's characters and storylines across on the show, I think that you're going to see definitely better shows as we move along.
And lastly, I wanted to ask you about you have a lot of guys on TNA that are TNA guys that started out with TNA. You have some guys that are from another organization. Is it a good mix? Do we see too much of guys from the other organization on TNA? Is that a fair question? What are your thoughts?
I think that I think it's important to have both. I definitely think it's important to have homegrown talent, but I think it's also important to have talent that have been on a national stage for a long time that may or may not be more recognizable faces. So if you see like a Kurt Angle in the ring wrestling somebody like a Robert Roode or an Eric Young, and they're flipping the channels and they say, "Oh, hold on a second, that's Kurt Angle." And then, well, who's this guy that he's wrestling? This guy's awesome. And oh, that's Eric Young. Oh, I like this guy. You know what I mean? And then you've kind of made a new. You're starting to make household names. And I think that I think that's why I think it's to have a mix of both.
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from Scott Slimmer with 411mania.com.
Hey, Christian, how are you doing today?
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. So I wanted to go back and sort of ask you, you touched on the fact that you're always excited by the fact that TNA continues to grow. We've seen the 2-hour impact. We've seen the move to Thursdays. We've seen more house shows. We've seen pay-per-views outside of Orlando. What's the next milestone step for TNA to take from here?
I think the next milestone is taking the pay-per-views on the road more frequently. I think that nothing against the fans in Orlando, but I think that anytime you can see us in a different setting, like when we were in Atlanta for Bound for Glory, the crowd was unbelievable, and I think that's going to it appears that I think that really helps our show, helps our pay-per-views come off as a bigger deal, and I think that's logically the next step is to get our pay-per-views out there and to get them more on the road, and also with live events. I think that's definitely the next step.
Cool. So then I want to kind of transition to the Christian Coalition. You are obviously the figurehead of your stable. What or who do you draw on when you look at other stables and other stable leaders in history to try to play off of and define your role as the leader of the stable?
I mean, there's no real, I obviously grew up a huge wrestling fan, so I'm factions like the Horsemen and things like that, obviously. But I think that with every stable like that, there's always a different chemistry, so you can't just kind of nail it down like, oh, we're exactly like this stable or that stable. But I think that we all have a sort of a different dynamic, and I really don't know. I never really thought about it, so you kind of stumped me there a little bit because I don't know. We just kind of go. We don't really, say, hey, this is how things are going to do. We just kind of do things, and that's how it turns out. So I'm not really sure, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, one of the things that's always been exciting about stables throughout the history of the industry is the way they change and evolve. So sort of a two-parter that'll be my last question. If you could pick one of the TNA knockouts in the growing knockouts division to add, who would it be? And if you could pick somebody from outside of TNA, independent, Japan, Mexico, whatever, to join, who would it be?
What do you mean as far as outside, as far as like a wrestler?
Yeah, somebody outside, somebody wrestling in the independent circuit, somebody from Japan, somebody from Mexico.
Yeah, I think that as far as the knockout will go, I would have to say probably Tracy Brooks. I mean, she's got a little evil side to her, which I like. So, she's not afraid to stick her nose in there, and like I said, she got a little evil streak, so that would help out a lot. But as far as outside, I don't know, man. Maybe Giant Bernard from over in Japan. I mean, the guy's he's doing great over there. He's teaming with Tomko in Japan, and he's one of the top guys over there right now. So maybe adding him wouldn't be too bad of an idea.
Okay, thanks for your time, Christian.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from Ryan Gray with newsworld.com.
It's actually WrestlingNewsWorld.com. How are you, Christian?
Not bad. How you doing?
Oh, not too bad. My question is that yesterday on WWE.com, there was an article with Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was talking with actor David Arquette, and Austin took a shot at TNA saying, and I quote, "You've got some stuff in TNA, but no major stars," end quote. What do you feel like when Austin and other people would say that reaction to TNA?
Well, he works for WWE. What would you expect him to say? I mean, Steve is, what do you say to that? I mean, he's entitled to his opinion. I mean, he's one, if not the biggest draw in the history of the business. So, I mean, he's entitled to pretty much say what he wants to say. So, that's it.
That's true. And Christian, okay. And also, throughout your career,
although I'd have to say I disagree. I mean, you have a guy like Kurt Angle.
Oh, yeah, I disagree with him, too. I was appalled that WWE.com would even put that on the website, and of course, they later removed the quote.
Yeah. So, right.
Okay. And I also want to ask you, throughout your career, you've played as both a babyface and as a heel, and you've been successful with both. Which would you rather work?
I think that what you see now is where I'm most comfortable.
Okay.
I think it's more true to the real me. I always say that it's more of my real self in there, just with the volume kind of cranked up. So I think that what you see me doing now is where I'm most comfortable.
And also, Christian, you've done some work as an actor.
Uh-huh.
Is that something you'd like to do in the future? Or?
Definitely. Like I said, I'm up in Canada right now promoting an independent movie that I did that's going to be available on DVD on October 30th called Dark Rising. So I'm really excited about it. And like I said, I always like to challenge myself and do things. That's the great thing about being in TNA, that I'm allowed to explore these other options, whereas before I didn't really have the time to be able to do those things. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to get a chance to do more of it for sure. It's always looking to challenge myself to do different things.
Right, well, I ask one more question now. With all the recent talk of steroids in professional wrestling, do you feel that performance-enhancing drugs are a big problem in TNA? And what does TNA do as far as testing goes?
Well, obviously there's drug testing in place, and like anything, looking at it and making sure that it's going to take the proper steps to improve it as time goes on and get it to where it needs to be, and I believe those are underway and in place. So I think going forward, I think the proper steps are being taken.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Your next question comes from Mike Johnson with PWInsider.com.
Hey, Christian, you just made a comment that there's drug testing in place. Is that something new or something that's been in existence with the company?
It's been in existence. It's my own company, so it's kind of kept on the inside. But like I said, there is a policy in place, and then like I said, they're taking strides to make sure that it's improving and getting it to where it needs to be.
Okay. The question I actually had was in regards to Tomko. Someone mentioned earlier about AJ Styles' improvement, but I think Tomko is probably the most improved guy who, in the last year or so, that's come into the TNA roster. What do you owe to his improvement? Do you think it's just WWE didn't spotlight him correctly, or just working in Japan and he's had more of a chance to build up his confidence? Because it's night and day from where he was a couple of years ago till now.
I'll take all the credit for it. It was all because of me. I'm joking. No, he's the thing is, people don't realize about Tomko, he's a real student of the game, and in WWE he didn't get a real chance to really perform all that much. And a lot of the times, and if you ask him, he was sitting at ringside during my matches, and not only was he sitting at ringside during matches, he was studying the matches. And he'd come back and he would talk to me about the matches. So even if he wasn't in the matches, he was trying to learn from the matches. And that's what I always respected about him, that he did it, even regardless of whether he was in the ring wrestling or not, he still wanted to learn. And he realized when he left WWE, he needed to go, and he wanted to continue to get better and step up. And that's the reason why he went to Japan. And when he went to Japan and came back, he's a completely different person, a completely different performer. And he's like I said, I kind of opened the door for him a little bit in TNA, but he kicked it open and ran with it. And what you see is what you get. He's going to be a top performer for sure. He's got all the tools, and he's got the right attitude. So I'm really proud of him, happy for him.
Right. You mentioned your Bound for Glory match in Atlanta with Samoa Joe, which was off the charts, and you guys have had really good chemistry in the ring. What do you think it is about Joe that separated him from the other talents in terms of being able to find that perfect mixture of chemistry? Because it seems like you clicked better with Joe than you did with even Rhino or Abyss. Not that those matches were bad by any measure of the imagination, but it just seemed like with Joe, when you and Joe were in the ring, something just perfectly clicks.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you find opponents like that, that happens. I mean, I had the same thing, years ago with Shelton Benjamin and with Jericho, and like I said, even with Rhino and a tag team, even with 3D, we had that same sort of thing. And sometimes, you just stumble upon that chemistry and you can't explain it, but it's there. And it's the same way with him, I think this at some point, maybe it's because our styles contrast each other so much that that I'm a little bit more acting up and defensive, and he's a straight ahead, come forward kind of guy. That contrast of those styles meshes really well, and I think that's probably what it is. And just that both of our attitudes and what we bring to the table, I think that like I said, it gels. And whenever we go out there, something good happens. So
cool. And unfortunately, at the TNA Fan Fest, you did lose to the hip toss.
I know. Well, it was a succession of about 25 hip tosses, so at least this wasn't one.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Talk about the video game here, right? So.
Yeah, let's talk about the game. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from King Jordan with New York Daily News.
Oh, God.
Good afternoon, Christian. How are you?
How you doing?
Okay. The WWE has their pay-per-view called Cyber Sunday. Now, you left them, I think, prior to coming to TNA a couple of years ago, correct?
Yeah, I've been gone from there just about 2 years. Yeah.
Now, these votes, these alleged votes, are they actually considered into the matches? Like, there's a match where you get to pick, one of the choices is Stone Cold Steve Austin, and one of the choices is JBL.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm not even aware of the matches here on Cyber Sunday. I haven't been really following it, to be honest with you. So.
I guess the question is, do these votes that these fans put in, do they really take into what they want to do, or is it the WWE's, from your past, booking, does that go?
I don't have no idea how it works. As far as I know, that they let the fans vote, and that's what you get. So.
Okay, you've been sitting on about a 1.0 average for the last 3 weeks. On a good night with good superstars, what do you think you could do to get that number up?
I think it's just continue to, like I said, earlier, that getting used to this 2-hour format, and just continuing to get better. That's what it's all about, and that's the thing when you talk about putting on fresh television shows every single week. You throw a bunch of stuff against the wall. Sometimes things stick, sometimes it doesn't. And the key is to throw so much stuff at the wall that more sticks than doesn't. So that's what we got to get to. We have to get to that point where we kind of find our groove and in that groove. And I think we're still trying to find it exactly. But like I said, we're getting there. And I think the 2 hours is going to help immensely. And I think going forward here, like I said, I feel like the first few 2-hour shows have been good, and I think you're going to see them get a lot better. And I think with better shows comes better ratings, and that's what we're aiming for.
If Rob Van Dam decided to join TNA, and that's we don't know yet, but would he be welcomed in the TNA locker room, as far as you know?
Sure, he would. Rob is very well respected by pretty much everybody, and by me as well. I've had a lot of great matches against Rob. He's one of my favorite opponents. We had a great ladder match a few years ago, and so I would love to see a guy at his caliber come in. Sure, he brings a lot of star power and a lot of talent.
You think he'd be welcomed in, though, by the higher up TNA people?
Definitely he would.
One last thing. Has there been any thought to having TNA the magazine?
I don't know. Actually, I thought about that recently. I think that maybe at some point here going forward, that's, like I said, we're kind of building and taking steps forward at all times. So I think it's one of those things where maybe you'll see it here in the next year or two.
Christian, good luck with your movie, and thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Your next question comes from Brian Crane with TNA Wrestling.
Good afternoon, Christian.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, given your storied history with ladder matches, have you ever considered making a run in the X Division or even trying out an Ultimate X match?
You know what? I don't know. I mean, I'm getting a little bit older now, so we'll see what happens. But, I wouldn't mind trying out an Ultimate X match here at some point. We'll see. It looks a little dangerous. But they, as far as X Division, I'm not sure. I mean, I definitely would love to compete against some of the guys in the X Division as far as staying there. I don't know. My goal was to be the World Heavyweight Champion. So, like I said, I think the X Division is a great division. I think that it should be a definite feature of our show. I think it's different and innovative, and I think the guys that are in that division are incredibly talented.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. Take care.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, I just want to remind everybody we've got about 3 minutes left, so if you still have some questions, if we could, let's get them in quick. That way everyone can get their question asked.
And your next question comes from Scott Slimmer with 411mania.com.
Hey, Christian, I just wanted to ask you, you've been on 2 Bound for Glory cards now, and TNA's biggest show of the year, and both times, with Rhino, with Joe, you've really gone out and stolen the show. You're getting a reputation similar to, Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. How do you prepare yourself, and how do you go into a match on the biggest show of the year to really go out and do something different and better and something that people will remember?
Well, I mean, I think that with Joe and I think that, like we talked about earlier with some other guys, that we just have this chemistry. Like maybe you can't explain it a little bit, but it's there. So to be able to go out there and just have a straight up, straightforward, kick-ass wrestling match that, in front of a crowd that was as hot as they were in Atlanta. And like I said, it's the biggest show of the year, and if you're not up for it, then you shouldn't be on the show. That's the way I see it. And I always get up for every show, but especially I get up for big shows. And my intention is that every time I go out there to steal the show, no matter what it is. I want to be the guy that people remember. Whether they do or not, I don't know, but that's my intention. Every time I'm on the screen, I go out there to the ring, I want to be that guy. So, I mean, and I think that everybody goes out there should go out with that attitude.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from Jim Barcelone with Miami Herald.
Yeah, Christian, just a couple more follow-up questions. Curious as you've spoken to Edge and physically how this guy is doing.
Yeah, actually, I have, and he's feeling better, and he's doing his rehabilitation, and he's getting ready to come back here in the next couple months. So he's definitely feeling better.
And lastly, sometimes read some things, talk to some wrestlers about the business. Curious your take, if you have a take. Does pro wrestling need a union like other sports have, or is this something that you really don't think about?
It's something that, to be honest, I haven't really thought about, but it's maybe something that should be taken into consideration. I'm not sure. We'll just have to see what happens, but I definitely think that it would be an interesting thing to look at anyway.
All right. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you.
Again, if you have a question, please press star then the number 1.
Operator, we done with questions?
I'm sorry, you do have a question from Scott Slimmer with 411mania.com.
Okay, that'll be the last question.
Okay, one more then. Just about, we've talked about Joe, we've talked about Rhino, some of the great series you have. How do you, when you're going into what you know is going to be a rather lengthy feud, how do you prepare yourself and balance the matches so that you always leave the fans wanting more without, jeopardizing the quality of those initial matches?
Yeah, I think that it's just in the execution, and I think that, I don't know, always, the way I see it is I never go out and intentionally, try to not have a good match, or, I'm not going to have as good a match this time because I really want to have a better match next time. I always try to have to one-up the match that I had before. So if I'm wrestling Joe, I try to have the best match possible I could have with Joe, and then I'll look back on that match and be like, you know what, I can have a better match than that match, and try to build on that. And sometimes even when I watch a match back, I'll watch it a couple times and kind of pick things apart and be like, you know what, I could have done this better, or I could have done this here, I could have done that. He could have done this. There's so many different things that go into it. So I always try to go in with the mindset that I'm going to have a better match than the one that I had before.
Hey guys, my name is James Walsh, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. I want to thank you for finding us. Please do me a favor and click that subscribe button and the notifications bell. And if you get the chance on this video, click the like button. If you do, it'll turn blue. Check it out. Also, check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for all this great content available in MP3 format, our online store that'll keep us going free and clear, daily news updates, as well as all the information from the history of professional wrestling you could possibly ever want. Check out WrestlingEpicenter.com online right now. Without any delay, let's get to your interview here on the Wrestling Epicenter.